specialist event planner, cinematographer, and has a wealth of experience within the carnival industry, throwing parties, fetes, and other events within the space. So welcome, Ken, to One-on-One. Thank you very much for joining us on set here today.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to know, right off the bat, we didn't have 2021 Carnival, we had a virtual form of that. What implications do you think it had on us economically, culturally, perhaps even mentally, emotionally?
Okay, so I'll try to answer one at a time.
Yeah.
Economically, there will be a loss. So there will be many event practitioners, suppliers, and even patrons who would not be able to apply their trade and earn income from, the carnival period. So that, that would be an immediate loss. It would have also been a time of opportunity because some individuals would have been able to use this time to reinvent themselves and come with something new. I know some artists, for instance, they would have enjoyed the opportunity to not be held to the schedule of releases that they usually would and be able to be a little more experimental. I know on my end, I enjoy the period from the perspective of everyone who would usually be hard to reach that would be traveling a lot was in the country in Trinidad. So I felt as though for some of my projects, it was a bit easier to, get and to reach out to certain artists and so on for ventures that I had. So that's in terms of, I guess economically. Mentally, I know for sure it will be a struggle because think of it like anything else, any other job or any other industry has been going on for quite some time. And this is your routine, a lot of people, their life is based on, this. And then suddenly one day it has stopped. So people such as myself, we would have taken a lot of time, a lot of resources, and sacrificed a lot to build our brands. And then it would have been felt as though it's difficult to now capitalize on this in the way that we would want to because the festivities aren't allowed due to the pandemic situation that we're in. So I think definitely mentally that's a challenge. It would be very, very challenging. And it still is challenging to kind of look forward because, we have been here with the pandemic for over a year and it actually seems to be getting worse. So it's something that, really, really is challenging to deal with mentally. And I think that that is another way that it's going to affect people. There were two other ways that you said. I remember mentally because I think that was the last.
But just the emotional impact on persons who looked forward, not necessarily ones who are involved in the production of Carnival, but the consumers, so our masqueraders, partygoers like myself, I would imagine it would have had a major impact on that angle as well. Right.
So the thing about it is, I view parties and fetes as a need. Because we all need to be entertained. It's part of your hierarchy of needs. So this outlet didn't exist. So I feel as though generally people had less access to that release that they would usually get during the carnival period and that fun time or that pinnacle of enjoyment. In addition to which, a lot of people look forward to seeing their friends and their family who would visit Trinidad and Tobago. And they could really have a nice time, enjoying and sharing our culture with others. And that was lost. But I also think that within that, again, there was a lot of opportunity because now you had an opportunity to focus on some of your existing closer connections, maybe with your own, immediate family or with your close friends or your neighbors, because you can't really go much places. So probably your neighbors, So that's what I think.
All right, okay, so we had a virtual carnival sort of try to fill the gap, of the physical carnival that we wouldn't have. Do you think it was an adequate enough replacement?
Well, no. I mean, I think it's not even, I actually just don't think it's a replacement. I think it's chalk and cheese. I think it's two different things. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like asking if, playing a video game, flying planes is the same thing as going on a flight. It's just not the same, It's not physically the same, emotionally, mentally, financially the same. I do think virtual carnival is good though. I think like I said, it's like chalk and cheese, but just because it's not cheese doesn't mean chalk is bad, right? So I think virtual carnival is something that is a vibe and I think it's something that should stay, even after, the pandemic is over. I do think that us as a country, we should be represented on the virtual space. And I do think that virtual carnival should take a page out of real carnival book. Because the thing is, most of the productions I saw were very, it would be like individualistic, and it would be a lot of the same. So it would be like the same artists given the same sets and so on. So me personally, I got bored. Because I was like, okay, I already saw this performance so many times. So then somebody might say like, hey, like if you go to a fete, you're still seeing the same performance. But first of all, some people don't like that like me. So even prior to virtual, I don't like seeing the same performances over and over. So I would really enjoy like the DJ's part of events. I would like look for events that don't have a lot of performance, because that's what I prefer. But outside of that, I felt as though because there's another element of different people, even if it's the same artist singing the same set, I will be around different people in a different ambience. So I'll still get some element of a difference. But in this case, I'm in the same living room, watching the same screen, the same performance. So it's not new and it's not stimulating enough. So I feel as though the thing that has to really improve or be created rather for it to have substance is really people visiting it or revisiting the concept as something fresh, where every single time it's a new experience versus, what I would call like a set piece. You just go, you run on, you sing your songs, you maybe sing just 8 songs, you probably sing 6, number 6 first, and that's a big change, but that's still real boring to me. I looking to see like theater, I'm looking to see storytelling, or even, not even a performance. Is there a way that you could bring me food? Because I like food a lot. All of my events have food in it. So is there a way you could like reach to me at home, or, is there a way I could have fun with like 5 people probably, since I can't have fun with 500.
Right, so we're talking about, basically being innovative with all of these virtual fetes, because it's not something that Trinidad and Tobago did alone. We saw it in Jamaica, we saw it in many other Caribbean countries. So do you think there could be some sort of regional collaboration of some sort to kind of take the industry forward? Because I feel as the carnival is no longer strictly a Trinidad and Tobago thing. Although, it is celebrated on a larger scale here, I sort of feel as though, it's a Caribbean festival now.
Okay, so like when I look at carnival and I look at like Juve celebrations, so I'll say carnival, has like 3 elements. You have the fetes, you have Juve, and then you have mass. Now, all of these are very individualistic celebrations. So what happens is that there is a body or platform, if you may. In the case of Juve and Mass, it would be the streets. In the case of the fetes, the platforms would be the venues. These places are provided to promoters and band leaders, and these people would ply their trade now. So yes, I think that there needs to be some type of platform that individuals could ply their trade on. However, I feel as though trying to get a bunch of band leaders, a bunch of, let's say, Juve band leaders, a bunch of promoters from different countries to like work together on one project is not necessary. I mean, it's nice, and we are nice to have, but it's not necessary. Like that actually is not like, in order for it to really grow, you as in Ruqayyah, you need to have your own and you need to grow it how you want it. I need to have my own and grow it how I want it. And then the patrons should kind of like look at what we have and then say, okay, I see Ruqayyah's own is very different from what Ken has. So I like Ruqayyah's own. Oh, I like both because Ken gave him a food and I like that. And Ruqayyah gave him a jump up and I like that too. So I'm going to go to both.
Okay.
Versus now it's very, it's very one-dimensional. So I don't think like collaboration, quote unquote, is really the answer, but more like people seeing it, taking it in that individualistic way with our platform.
Let's talk about the role that different organizations has to play. So the NCC, for example, they would have received only $36 million this year compared to $153 million in 2019 for just recurrent expenditure and development. So they say, with the industry of carnival, versus you have a company like Digicel who put in an investment of $3 million and they said it was for the love of culture. These different approaches from the entity who is tasked with this responsibility versus Digicel, where that isn't their main goal, like how do you feel as a producer in this carnival industry when you have these different approaches around?
The NCC is the governing body for Carnival. As far as Trinidad and Tobago is concerned, Carnival is cancelled. So I understand from a government perspective why they would say, okay, look, we would usually spend 100 million, 200 million on Carnival. As far as we're concerned, Carnival is cancelled. We're not going to fire anybody. Let's just pay the salaries. And then when Carnival comes back up, we would we would re-spend that money and so on. Now, I understand that there has been a lot of uproar from the creative sector because creatives, let's say such as myself, would have felt like, oh my gosh, you know, you're not making no money. You should take that money and you should give it to us, or you should take that money and stimulate the economy, which is a choice. But at the same time, I understand why the choice was not made, because it's a real simple thing of, you know, you have a show, the show cancelled, so why are you spending the money? The show is not happening, right? What I would also say is, it is possible for the NCC to create a platform, a virtual platform for people to apply their trade on. But I feel as though the platform would be best created from the people. You know, I believe that all right, like you see how like I'm explaining it here, I feel like that understanding is lacked by many people. So everybody's just kind of approaching it like, all right, let's get a whole heap of artists and let's like get all the artists to perform. Like that is boring. Like how much of that you really go and watch? You know, you're gonna go one. So you have to think of it from the perspective of whatever platform is built, we should be able to have 60 different events. Between Carnival Friday and Carnival Sunday, there are 60 different events. So if the platform can't have 60 different events, something is wrong, because then you're leaving people out inevitably. So that definitely can't work in a one-dimensional framework if you're just getting all the artists and then they go and perform at a particular time. Then we're going on with the other 59 different, let's say, promoters who try and apply their trade, right? So I think that the NCC does have a role to play. I think it is possible for the NCC to create a platform. However, I also think it is not necessary. If the NCC does not create a platform, we as the people, myself and yourself, we could come together, we could meet an investor, and then three of us together, we can create a platform that people could build on.
All right, okay. So, well, everyone, you heard him. So it is more a collaborative effort in a sense. Whilst we would appreciate, you know, the NCC providing that platform for the creative sector to really, you know, bloom and flourish into the future, there is another angle that even without that sort of support, it still is possible, because we live in a country with a lot of people, and a lot of people can make a lot of things happen. So stay right with us, and we'll be right back. And I'm in conversation with Ken Sambury.
Seven is out, all day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Hello and welcome back to One on One. We're in conversation with Ken Sambury. He is the owner of the Ken Sambury Company and managing director of eEmpire. And we were just talking about the role of the NCC in the carnival industry. Now, Ken, economist Marlene Atch, she stated that whilst the government has a duty to provide and enable an environment, which is what you just spoke about, to take the carnival industry forward, the sector has not organized itself in a way that could be considered a business. Do you agree that the carnival sector hasn't really been developed properly to be considered an effective business model?
Right, so my question to Marlene would be, what is her definition of the carnival sector? Because from my perspective, I would just look at it more from the perspective of the entertainment sector, which would include clubs. It will include entertainers. It would also include artists and event practitioners, which really is an all-year-round thing and not just really isolated to Carnival, although Carnival has like a heightened attention on entertainment because Trinidad and Tobago is the land of Carnival. I would even include elements of tourism in this Carnival sector. Basically, anybody that benefits from Carnival, in my opinion, is Carnival sector. And, you know, if you look at, let's say, entertainment in Trinidad, or if you look at the tourism sector, I do feel there are ways for these organizations or these groups within to be, let's say, to be encouraged or be facilitated by the government. So, for example, I am part of the Trinidad Carnival Promoters Association. I can't say that it's not organized, but I mean, she being the economist may have a particular framework or particular structure in mind that I am not aware of. So I guess I would have to get more information from her to answer that. So before you had asked me about NCC and Digicel, right? So I said what I said with NCC, which is they can, but if they don't, we're not going to die.
It's cool.
Right? What I would say from the Digicel perspective is, I mean, it is really heartening to see Digicel spend so much money. But at the same time, I wouldn't really say like that's not their main focus, because it just really depends on like how they want to market their brand. And this is really a message to all brands to like look at Digicel's example, because it is possible to make, I don't know, of course, the financial like back end, but I would like to think that all of the expenditure that Digicel is spending is earning the brand, you know, way more in revenue. I could see how Digicel being the loudest brand in and around that carnival sphere is really setting themselves up to be like Pampers, you know, Pampers meaning to own and dominate that category in terms of a brand who's like really, you know, doing virtual productions like that, you know. So I think there are many other brands in Trinidad, and some of my work like with the Ken Sambury company, I work for ad agencies and I also work for brands directly. And it has been a really, really challenging time finding ways to kind of like push your brand or to develop it in and around this, you know, this new climate. Because, you know, you can't do promos, there's a lot of things that you usually do that you can't do, right? So I think it's really a nice time for brands to reinvent themselves and to find a way or to align themselves with creators or practitioners who may not be able to do what they're accustomed doing, but now you, along with a brand, could create something new and you could win. Because from Digicel's perspective, Digicel is pushing a lot of apps. Like, you know, Digicel has a lot of, they stand a lot to gain. So I don't think it's a situation where it's like, oh, you know, it's almost like charity. I don't think entertainment is a charity case at all. I think it's a wise business move, and I implore all other brands to look at the entertainment sector, not just the artists, because I think like that's the number one go-to. It's like, all right, cool, like I need to do something, I'm gonna call up artists, you know. But the entertainment sector as a whole, because no artist is on an island, you know. Each artist has a team to get the music out. The music reaches the people, such as yourself, when you go and you hear it in an event. So it's an entire framework that brands could get involved with, and really it could be a symbiotic relationship.
So as you mentioned artists and soca music, earlier you mentioned that they no longer have to stick to these deadlines or this rigid framework of releasing music, and perhaps they can take a more relaxed, you know, version. From a societal point of view, I've often interacted with persons who don't want to hear soca outside a carnival. You know, they're like, nah, soca is a carnival thing. And then we wonder about the evolution of soca music and how far can it possibly reach if it only remains like a carnival thing. So do you perhaps think that because soca music has been so just confined to carnival period, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, it has contributed to this ideology that, all right, soca music is a carnival thing. Chutney soca music is just a carnival thing.
Right. So honestly, I'm just really happy that you're asking me these questions, because I just feel like I just not in this generic thing. I actually am very happy that soca music is a carnival thing, and here's why. Now, music for everybody, it resonates with people in such a way that it creates what I would call associations. So you hear a particular song and you associate it with a mood and a feeling. And that is what carnival is, and that's what soca music is. So when you hear soca music, you have a particular feeling, which is why you find a lot of foreigners, or I'll actually say Jamaicans, for instance. In Jamaica, the music that they play in law offices, and I'm telling you this because my best friend is a lawyer and he was telling me about it and I was in shock, is soca music. They ain't playing no dance all day. Why? Soca music is clean. You hardly have soca music with obscene language. Soca music is also happy music. Everybody happy. Everybody jumping up. Everybody waving. Nobody getting shot, right? In addition to which, you find that soca music is now associated with happy times. So when you walk into an office and you hear soca music playing when you're not in Trinidad, you're kind of associated with that time. So me personally, I don't have a problem with that. And I feel that soca music could be played any time of year, but it could just bring us back to that feeling at any time. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have dancehall and some hip-hop that has really, really taken off over the past year or so. And to me, that goes to show that it's not a situation where you need to have soca music 24/7. You're still getting local music. These are still local artists. These are still people who are from Trinidad and Tobago, and they're still going to contribute to our GDP, even though it might be small. So the point is, I agree. If it is somebody who don't want to hear soca music in September, that's fine. Just don't listen to soca music. There's no problems there. Soca music will work and it will have its place around Carnival time, and I don't think that it's necessary to fight that. It's more to let's embrace it and because that's the next thing. What festival do other genres have? They have a festival? I don't know about that. I don't know. When I hear hip hop, I don't think about any festival. Me personally. So I don't know if foreigners think about it, but they don't have anything. So it's like, this is actually a plus.
So it's unique.
Unique. This is a plus that we as Trinidadians be fighting down and looking as a negative. Like, yo, other people who have no festival. I don't ever go no other country and hear it and no switch. I never hear no country music switch. You understand? So how people watch it as a negative, I actually look at it as a positive, and it's something that we could embrace and we could really carry to the world and say, hey, we have festival music and make our music the music of festivals.
All right, I really like that, because now I'm thinking there's no reason for soca music to be the monopoly of all music in Trinidad and Tobago. There's no scarcity of music. You know, people are going to keep on producing different types of music right here in Trinidad and Tobago. So this brings me to another aspect. We're talking about, you know, filmmaking and videography, cinematography, and that sort of thing. We saw a Lavway that came out, and it got pretty good reviews. And now we're looking at filmmaking as a possible option during Carnival. So we have the regular physical fetes, we have this virtual fete that, as you said, you get bored of watching time and time again in the same living room with the same 5 people living in your house, drinking the same thing, eating the same thing. Do you see this avenue of filmmaking as an opportunity for Trinidad to really capitalize on?
Yeah, so yes, to answer your question directly, challenge is that doing a film like Lavway is expensive. So you find that it's a bit out of the reach of promoters. Remember those 60 promoters? Out of the 60 in Carnival weekend, you could probably get one doing Lavway. So I feel like, yeah, it's an opportunity, but it's not really like a viable opportunity for somebody who is trying to have like a Carnival boat ride, or they're trying to have like a fete or whatever. Because what I'm saying is, yeah, we have to think of it like all the time we were at war, and then now we have a set of soldiers who well trained in, you know, being a soldier, but they have no war, basically. So that's what's happening right now. So you have a lot of people who like really train in event planning, or really train in like costume production or whatnot, but then like all of us, you know, I'm including myself, all of us just there like, all right, we have all these amazing skills and this legacy, and let's say you're using these soldiers as an example, all these medals, but what we're going to do with it, we can sell the medals, you can do anything with it now. You know, so I think that is the little... So, like, yes, to answer your question, but then it's like, that is not really, like, it's not realistic for a soldier to start a whole, you know, like, a private army. You know, unless, like, you're a particular type of soldier. So it's Lavway, yeah, but it's just not really realistic for the majority, 95% of people to film a Lavway. It requires major resources, major know-how, you know, major access.
And then why should it? You know, we could have the film, we could have the virtual fetes, we could have aspects of it that are physical. So as you said, that we can have all of these moving parts together.
Right. Well, this is what I was going to say is, now it's ready for us to kind of like reapproach our methodologies in a more collaborative way, but more so with brands. Because, you see, the question is, where's the money coming from? Right? So I think I would call it like the short loop. Short loop meaning, can I have an event, Ruqayyah gives Ken his money, and that's where the money is coming from, is not working out. So forget that. So you have to look at little longer loops. So, for example, Destra had a concert, and her concert was sponsored by a popular paint company. Cool. So they are selling paint, people are building houses. That is an industry that is still running during COVID-19 time. You know, there's no ban on that at all. Great. That's where the money coming from. So now this brand could work with Destra and work with a couple others to use this as a channel to get more people to buy from them. So now we have kind of like reinvented where the money coming from. So I think that is what has to happen. We need a total reinvention of where the money coming from, because trying to get the money directly from the public in like the regular means is not working out. Another good example is focusing on the diaspora. I think us as Trinidadians, let's think of it like we're turning into a tourist nation and we are focusing on visual products for the diaspora. Could we go buy a pan man and go live? Keep it simple, you know. I love big production. I would love if people hire my production company to shoot it, but they're expensive. So if you could just go live on your phone, bro, and then we could find a way, or somebody have a platform where you could just pay and see it or whatnot. I would actually say, let's think of it like having like a OnlyFans for Carnival or OnlyFans for entertainment, where people pay specifically, but they pay not just to see you live your life now, but they pay to see and experience this island life, because realistically you can't fly in and get it.
Yeah, and
like
it's not physical anymore.
Correct.
Yeah. So tell me, lastly, where do you see the carnival industry going?
That's a good question. Because, you know, I have my own ideas, but I'm one person and I'm really honestly doing the utmost, not even the most, right? So I'm just really doing the most to like make myself good. And the thing is, there's a lot of sacrifice and where I have to balance. So for example, I just did an event called Sanilia, and Sanilia took so much out of me. Like I'm supposed to do, like usually after events, I'll do like a whole recap video. I reminded my colleague Stefan once to do the recap video, and I remind him after that, because it's like, I and all needed a breather, because I felt like it required so much massive effort. You know, our budget was almost like $250,000, and this is during COVID time. You know, like I'm saying this, and it's song astonishing. You know, it was an event happening in Tobago, so we had to like go across there and like reposition ourselves there. We had a lot of variables, and then even after doing all of that, it was very challenging to bring everything to life how we wanted it to, because we felt as though due to the climate of COVID-19, unless you are doing something like selling paint, you find that you kind of come into a lot of like scrutiny. So it's like, what you're doing there, you know, you have the permissions, is it legal, you know? So I feel like I really can't say where Carnival is going to be. I can tell you where I want it to go. I want Carnival to become a product that people could access everywhere in the world. I want Carnival to become a product, using the example I just used, where you as Ruqayyah, you could be doing your thing by yourself without the NCC help and anybody, but people could just pay you directly. You know, I wish like, you know, people could start receiving money on PayPal. That'd be great. No, like simple things like that would now create a big difference, because now I could like show something from the Caribbean. I could just go to beaches and say, hey, you want to see beaches? Well, pay me and you see beaches every morning or whatnot, you know?
So bringing Carnival directly to consumers is essentially what you want to see, and consumers no matter what part of the world they're from.
Correct. And then looking at Carnival as like a product, a tourist product, as opposed to looking at it like one-dimensional. Just think of it like, look, jump and wave is outlawed right now. So we had to look at Carnival as like we're going to the beach, we're eating food. You know, this is festive food here.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, it's different. It's different. So thank you very much for your perspective on the business of Carnival. So everyone, you heard it. It's really for us to, you know, reimagine what Carnival would look like going forward within the COVID-19 setting. So thank you so much, Ken, for joining us on set today. And thank you for everyone tuning in. And don't forget, next week we have another episode for you. Bye-bye. This is One on One.
WESN